What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. Today I'm doing race 6 for the 2025 Daytona 500. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. This weekend is the Great American Race, the first official points-paying race of 2025, the biggest race of the year. A race that provides sometimes a lot of attrition, a ton of fuel saving, and most likely a crazy wreck that will take out a lot of cars by the end of the event, and sometimes, like the last couple years, a big surprise winner. The last time we ran at Daytona International Speedway, we saw Harrison Burton pass Kyle Busch on the last lap and basically pick up his first career NASCAR Cup Series win. He will not be back this time around. He's going to be replacing Hailie Deegan full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year. And the last time we ran the Daytona 500, William Byron was able to win his first Daytona 500 and his 11th career NASCAR Cup Series win. So now, we're going to go ahead and jump into picks. But before we go ahead and jump into picks, let's take a look at the weather for this weekend. So the weather for this weekend is certainly interesting. It's going to be 82 degrees high with 48 degrees low with a 60% chance of rain with scattered thunderstorms. Just like the last couple years, weather could play a major factor, a major role in this year's Daytona 500. Hopefully the weather decides to hold off and we can get some good weather and hopefully not have a rain delay like we did and get the race postponed like we did in 2024. So now we'll go ahead and jump into picks. Let's begin by talking about the open cars. There are a lot of open cars in this year's Daytona 500. You have the 01 for Ricker Racing with Corey LaJoie. You have the 44 car with NY Racing with JJ Yeley. The 66 Garage 66 entry for Chandler Smith. Jimmy Johnson 84 car for Legacy Motor Club. Elio Castroneves in the 91 car for Project 91 with Trackhouse Racing. The 40 car for Junior Motorsports driven by Justin Allgaier. The 56 Tricon Garage entry for Martin Truex Jr. Of course, you have BJ McLeod and the 78 car, and you have some other big names like Beer Motorsports and Anthony Alfredo. Let's start by talking about Wednesday. There will be two cars that will lock their way in the Daytona 500 on Wednesday. Who do I think are the two fastest that are going to get in? The first driver that I think locks their way in on Wednesday is going to be Justin Allgaier in the 40 car for Junior Motorsports. The 40 team, the Junior Motorsports cars, will have Hendrick engines and Hendrick support. And Hendrick Motorsports historically, especially in the last decade or so, they have always been up front and generally been in contention to win the poles for the Daytona 500 with drivers like Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott as well. I think Justin Allgaier, Junior Motorsports, in their first attempt, they'll be able to qualify in the Daytona 500. The second driver that I think makes it in is going to be the driver 91 car for Project 91, Elio Castroneves. Now, Elio Castroneves is guaranteed already in this year's Daytona 500, but I think they're going to make sure to guarantee themselves in by qualifying in on Wednesday. So I think that Elio Castroneves will be the one that ends up getting in as a second driver on Wednesday evening. So I have Allgaier and Castroneves getting in. Now let's go to the duels real quick. You've got 7 drivers then will be fighting for two spots to get in. The first driver I have getting in is the driver, the 56 for Tricon Garage, Martin Truex Jr. There's a lot more Toyotas this time around, and Toyota is going to do whatever they can, especially with the resources they have. They're going to do whatever they can to try to get Martin Truex Jr. in, and he's going to have Cole Pearn as a crew chief, and they've worked together pretty well in the past. I think Truex will get in to this year's Daytona 500. And the final one's going to be a little bit controversial, but I think that Corey LaJoie in the 01 car for Rick Ware will be the second and final driver to qualify their way in from the duels. Corey LaJoie is a pretty underrated super speedway racer. He got a top 5 in the Daytona 500 last year. I think with the speed that Rick Ware is going to have, especially with the RFK Alliance, I think that Corey LaJoie ends up getting in. Now let's move on to the OPE. Who's going to get in the open provisional clause if that comes into effect? I think if that happens, Andy Alfredo will get the last spot. If Ellie has to use that OPE, I think Andy Alfredo will be the driver who will get the final spot to get in. So now, let's jump into the main picks for the video. For the Daytona 500, I got 3 suck picks. 3 drivers I expect to struggle throughout the weekend who will not run well in this year's Daytona 500. 3 underdog picks. 3 drivers I think who do need a good run, who are not as good at this type of track, or desperately need a good run to start the year. And I do my winners pick, the driver I think is going to win the race overall. And I got 6 drivers you need to watch out for along with the race winner. So now, let's go ahead and jump into picks. Who are my suck picks for the 2025 Daytona 500? My first suck pick for the Daytona 500 is the driver of the 45 car for 2311 Racing, Tyler Reddick. Look, Tyler Reddick has been getting better at super speedways in the next gen era. There is no denying that. However, he's also had a ton of bad luck at these types of tracks. And drivers that have bad luck generally don't have the pace and speed to contend as well. I think Tyler Reddick will have a solid car for sure. There is no question on that. But I think he'll get caught up in a big incident wreck in this year's Daytona 500 in 2025. My second suck pick for this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, Christopher Bell. Now, Christopher Bell, very similar to Tyler Reddick, he has gotten a lot better at super speedways, especially next gen era, as he did win a dual race last year. However, I think Christopher Bell will have some bad luck this time around. I think most of the year he's going to have good pace and speed, but I think that the number 20 team will have a lot of bad luck in this year's Daytona 500. I think something is going to go, unfortunately, extremely wrong for them. I think Christopher Bell, unfortunately, will not have a good run in the 2025 Daytona 500. And my third and final suck pick for the 2025 Daytona 500 is a driver of the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing, Daniel Suarez. Now, Daniel Suarez is a solid super speedway racer, and he's been good at Atlanta, but at Daytona, he has not had a lot of good luck. In 2020, he failed to qualify for the Daytona 500 with Gaunt Brothers, and last time he ran at Daytona, he unfortunately blew up early in the event after having issues on pit road. I think Suarez has something go wrong for him, unfortunately, and I think he gets caught up in an incident and wreck. I think he'll be behind his teammates this time around. I think Suarez, unfortunately, will struggle a little bit in this year's Daytona 500. And now we're going ahead and jump on the underdog picks for the 2025 Daytona 500. Who are my underdog picks? My first underdog pick for the 2025 Daytona 500 is a driver of the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson used to not be very good at super speedways, but one race that Kyle Larson has generally been really good at, especially at super speedways, is the Daytona 500. He's come close to winning it multiple different times, is in position to win the Daytona 500 2 years ago, and probably should have won the race in 2017, but ran out of gas and Kurt Busch took the win from him. I think Larson's going to have a decent chance and opportunity to win. He's not, like I said, as good at super speedway tracks in NASCAR currently at the moment, but I do think that Kyle Larson will have a solid chance and opportunity to win his first Daytona 500 and get his final crown jewel win that he needs to complete the quadrifecta. The second underdog pick for this weekend at this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 88 car for Trackhouse Racing, Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen, the last time he ran the opener for NASCAR, especially in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, he was super impressive and finished in 11th place. And Shane Van Gisbergen, while he's had some bad luck at super speedways, I think, especially after how well he ran at Talladega last fall, I think that SVG could have a solid chance and opportunity. Plus, he's going to be with the better team this time around in this year's Daytona 500, and I do think he will be a factor to contend at least for a top 10 for sure in the 2025 Daytona 500 with Trackhouse Racing. And my third and final underdog pick for this weekend at Daytona is a driver of the 34 car for Farmer Motorsports, Todd Gillen. Todd Gillen is coming in as an early favorite to win the Daytona 500, and there's good reasons for it. One, he's going to the flagship Farmer Motorsports car for this season. And I think that Todd Gillen will have a solid chance and opportunity to qualify on the pole this weekend. I think he's got a really good opportunity to win. I think the 34 team, especially with Chris Lawson being the crew chief, is going to be a strong run for him. I think that Todd Gillen will definitely be a solid factor to win the 2025 Daytona 500. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the winner's pick for the 2025 Daytona 500. Who am I picking to win? We all know about history. Dale Earnhardt, he won his first Daytona 500 in his 20th try. I think we're going to see a little bit of history repeat himself this time around. So, the driver picking to win the 2025 Daytona 500 is the driver of the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing, Kyle Busch. This could be Kyle Busch's final opportunity to win the Daytona 500, at least with Richard Childress Racing, but I think we're going to see history repeat itself. I think that Kyle Busch is going to be a major factor to win the Daytona 500. He's been extremely strong at super speedways with RCR in the last couple of years, and it's been the one race that's eluded his NASCAR Cup career. I think that Kyle Busch will have the pace and speed to contend. I think RCR is going to bring the pace, and I think that Kyle Busch will definitely be a major factor to win the 2025 Daytona 500. I'm going with him to be your Daytona 500 winner. And now we're going ahead and jump on the drivers you need to watch out for this year's Daytona 500. Who should you have your eyes out on? The first driver to watch out for this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 12th car for Team Penske, Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is one of the favorites to win the 2025 Daytona 500. It's for good reason. Ryan Blaney's been always good at Daytona and Talladega. He won a Daytona in 2021 in the summer race. He's got 3 wins at Talladega Super Speedway. I think the Team Penske cars are going to be solid and really, really fast and have some great speed. I think Ryan Blaney will definitely be a major factor and serious contender to win the 2025 Daytona 500. The second driver to watch out for this year's Daytona 500 is the driver of the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott has come close to win the Daytona 500 over the course of the last couple of years and came very close to win the Daytona 500 4 years ago. I think Chase Elliott will be a major factor to win. Chase Elliott's been really strong in super speedways in the next-gen era especially. He's won at Talladega once or twice at this point. I do think that Chase Elliott will definitely be a major factor to try to win this year's Daytona 500 with Hendrick Motorsports. The third driver to watch out for this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 23 car for 23XI Racing, Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace has been really strong at super speedway tracks throughout his NASCAR career, and I think Bubba will be a factor. He came very close to winning the Daytona 500 last year, finishing inside the top 5, and he came very close to winning it in 2022 as well. I think that Bubba Wallace will be a solid factor and a strong contender to win the 2025 Daytona 500 with 23XI Racing. The fourth driver to watch out for this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 22 car for Team Penske, Joey Logano. Joey Logano is a really good super speedway racer, and it's been 10 years since Joey Logano last won the Daytona 500, that being in 2015. I do think that Joey Logano is going to be a major factor to win. If he does get caught up in a wreck or incident by the end of the race in the event, I do think that Joey Logano will have a great chance and opportunity to pick up his second Daytona 500 in 2025. I think he will have a good chance to win. The fifth driver to watch out for this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports, William Byron. William Byron is one of the most underrated super speedway drivers in the Cup Series today. He's won in Atlanta twice. He's come close to winning at Daytona, well actually Talladega, almost won the fall race last year, and he is the defending Daytona 500 winner. William Byron, I think, will have a great chance and opportunity not only win the pole for this year's Daytona 500, but I do think the 2014 is going to have a good chance and opportunity to win back-to-back Daytona 500s. If he was to do that, he'd be the first driver to do that since Denny Hamlin when he did it in 2019 and 2020. He'll have definitely a good chance and opportunity to do that. And the sixth and final driver that I think you should watch out for in this year's Daytona 500 is a driver of the 6 car for RFK Racing, Brad Keselowski. This is a race that has eluded Brad Keselowski's career. He has come close to winning the Daytona 500 many times, and Brad is a really strong super speedway racer, but only has 1 points-paying win at Daytona in his career. I think Brad will be a major factor and serious contender. He almost won the 500 2022 and 2023. I think he will be a major factor to win the 2025 Daytona 500 with RFK. I think I'll have a good chance and opportunity to get it done this year. So, those are my race picks for the 2025 Daytona 500. Just a reminder, my suck picks are Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Daniel Suarez. My underdog picks are Kyle Larson, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Todd Gillen. My winner's pick is Kyle Busch. And the ones to watch out for Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Bubba Walsh, Joe Logano, William Byron, and Brad Keselowski. Those are my race picks. So, that is going to be it for the race picks video for the 2025 Daytona 500. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. List description below that, and comment your picks below for this weekend's Daytona 500. Tell me your suck picks, tell me your underdog picks, tell me your winner's pick, and let me know drivers you think are going to make it into the 500 from the open entries. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Later today, I've got 2 NASCAR news videos dropping on the channel, one after Daytona 500 practice, the other one will come up a couple hours after that. Then on Thursday, we're going to have the paint scheme video for the Daytona 500, and we are also, of course, going to have the reactions to the duels, and if there's any major news that does break, we'll discuss here live on the channel. I've got content to be like Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carl Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Connor Zillis, Jr. Motorsports coming. I've got other content to be like Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, William Byron. I've got other content to be like Carson Quaffle coming as well, Clayus McFarland, Matt Benedetto, Frankie Muniz, and all the good stuff dropping on the channel really, really soon. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, buddy.